If you make six figures, you might still not be rich in 2026. And if that sentence bothers you, good. That means you're exactly who this video is for. Most people believe wealth is a number, a salary, a net worth, a milestone you cross. But in 2026, that idea doesn't work anymore. Because money stopped being about how much you have and became about where you stand compared to everyone else. You're not poor. You're just not in the top percentage. Yet. Let me ask you something. When did you first decide what making it looked like? Maybe it was $50,000 a year. Maybe $100,000. Maybe $1 million in the bank. You told yourself, once I reach this number, I'll finally relax. So you worked. You climbed. You got the raise, the promotion, the better job. And for a moment, it felt real. You made it. But then something strange happened. The relief didn't last. A few months in, maybe a year, and you're back where you started, looking up, feeling behind, chasing the next level. What happened? Here's what nobody tells you. The finish line moves the moment you get closer. You start earning more, so you spend more. Your apartment gets nicer. Your car gets newer. Your vacations get better. And suddenly, $100,000 doesn't feel like $100,000 anymore, because everyone around you is moving too. Your coworker just bought a house. Your friend from college started a business. Someone you went to high school with is posting from Bali again. And now you're not comparing yourself to where you were, you're comparing yourself to where they are. This is the part that breaks people. You think, I'm doing well, so why do I still feel stressed? Here's why. Because your brain wasn't designed for this. For most of human history, your reference group was small. Your village, your town, maybe a few hundred people. You knew where you stood. You knew who had more, who had less. The hierarchy was visible and stable. But now, your reference group is infinite. You're comparing yourself to your neighbors, your colleagues, people you haven't seen in 10 years, and strangers on the internet who only show their wins. Your brain is still wired for the village, but you're living in a global arena. And in that arena, there's always someone doing better, always someone younger, always someone who got there faster. So no matter how much you earn, the feeling of enough never arrives. The answer is simple. You were playing the wrong game. You thought wealth was about crossing a line, but wealth is about climbing a ladder. And on a ladder, standing still feels like falling. The system isn't designed for you to feel rich. It's designed to keep you running. Now, picture 100 people standing in a room. They represent everyone in your country, everyone in your economy, everyone you're competing with for housing, healthcare, education, and opportunity. Now here's the question. Where do you stand in that room? Are you in the top half, the top quarter, the top 10? Because that position, not your salary, is what determines how your life actually feels. This is what people miss. Wealth is a ranking system. It's not about how much you have. It's about how much you have compared to everyone else. And in 2026, that comparison isn't optional. It's built into the system. Housing prices are set by competition. The best schools are accessed by position. Even healthcare quality depends on what bracket you're in. Everything you want is distributed by rank. So when you ask, am I rich? What you're really asking is, am I higher than most people? And here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people aren't. By definition, most people are average. That's what average means. But nobody wants to be average, so everyone is running. And the faster everyone runs, the harder it gets to stand out. Let me show you how this actually works. Imagine you're earning $75,000 a year. That might sound like good money, and 20 years ago it was. But now, the median rent in major cities is $2,000 a month. That's $24,000 a year just for housing. Add healthcare, add student loans, add transportation, add food. By the time you're done, you're not building wealth, you're just staying afloat. Meanwhile, someone earning $200,000 is building equity. They're investing, they're compounding. The gap isn't just growing, it's accelerating. And here's the critical part. This isn't about individual choices anymore, it's structural. You can be smart, disciplined, and hardworking and still not move up, because the system rewards position, not effort. This is why two people earning the exact same amount can feel completely different about their lives. One lives in a small town where $80,000 puts them in the top tier. They feel secure, respected, comfortable. The other lives in a major city where $80,000 barely covers rent. They feel squeezed, invisible, behind. Same income, different position, different life. Being rich doesn't mean you crossed a line. It means you climbed higher than most people. And once you understand that, everything changes. So let's talk about what it actually feels like to be in the top percentages. Not the fantasy version, the real version. Top 10%. Comfort without security. If you're in the top 10%, your life looks good from the outside. You have a stable income, a nice place. You go on vacations. You're not worried about paying rent next month. Your friends think you're doing great. Your family is proud. On paper, you've made it. But here's what people don't see. You're still fragile. You still need your job. You still need your paycheck. If something breaks, your health, your career, the economy, you feel it immediately. You have comfort, but not security. You can afford your life as long as nothing goes wrong, and that creates a very specific kind of stress. It's not panic, it's not desperation, it's a low hum of anxiety that never fully goes away. Because you know, one bad quarter, one layoff, one unexpected expense, and you're back to square one. You're living well, but you're also one disruption away from chaos. Here's what that actually looks like. You have savings, maybe 3 months, maybe 6, but not enough to survive a real crisis. You have investments, maybe a retirement account, but nothing you can touch without penalties. You have assets, maybe a car, maybe some equity in a home, but it's all locked up. It's not liquid. So when something unexpected happens, a medical bill, a family emergency, a sudden job loss, you feel it in your chest. Because you're not poor, but you're not safe either. Top 10% feels rich compared to your past, but exposed compared to your future. You've climbed high enough to see what's possible, but not high enough to relax. Top 5%. Options appear. Now let's move up. Top 5% is where something shifts. This is where money stops being stressful and starts being strategic. You're not just covering expenses anymore. You're building. You have savings, investments, equity in something. If you make a mistake, you can recover. If you want to take a risk, you can afford it. Time starts to open up. You can say no to things. You can choose projects based on interest, not just income. This is where options appear. You're not free yet. You're still working, but the work feels different. It's no longer survival. It's optimization. You can take a month off without panicking. You can turn down a job you don't like. You can invest in yourself, education, health, relationships, without it feeling reckless. You start thinking in years, not months. Your decisions are no longer reactive, they're proactive. And psychologically, that's a massive difference. The anxiety fades. The comparison reflex softens. You stop checking what everyone else is doing every single day. You're still aware of the latter, but you're not obsessed with it anymore. Top 5% is where you start to breathe. Here's the interesting part. The income gap between top 10% and top 5% isn't enormous, maybe $50,000 or $100,000 in annual earnings, but the psychological gap is huge, because it's not just about having more money, it's about having margin. Margin to make mistakes, margin to take chances, margin to live without constant calculation, and that margin changes everything. Top 1%. A different game. And then there's the top 1%. This is where most people's understanding of money completely breaks down. Because top 1% isn't just more money, it's a different game entirely. At this level, your income doesn't come from your job, it comes from capital. You own things that generate money, businesses, real estate, investments that compound while you sleep. You're not trading time for dollars anymore. You're using money to make money. And that changes everything. Inflation doesn't hit you the same way. Recession, you have reserves. Market crash, you have diversification. You're insulated from the shocks that destabilize everyone else. Let me be clear, this isn't about luxury, it's about structure. Someone in the top 1% might not live in a mansion, they might not drive a Ferrari, but they have something more valuable than luxury: independence. They don't worry about losing their job because their wealth isn't tied to their labor. They don't feel time pressure during economic downturns because they have assets that weather the storm. They don't feel the same time pressure because their income isn't capped by hours in a day. Here's the key difference. They're not winning faster. They're playing a different game. While most people are trying to climb the ladder, they built an elevator. And the gap between high earner and capital owner is wider than most people realize. This is why you can meet someone making $200,000 a year who still feels stressed and someone making the same amount who feels completely calm. One is selling their time, the other is leveraging their assets. Same income, different structure, different life. The top 1% doesn't just have more, they have different rules. And once you see that, you realize the game most people are playing can't get them there. You can't work your way into the top 1%. You have to build your way in.
So where does this leave you? Let's zoom out for a second. The problem isn't that you don't have enough money. The problem is that nobody told you the rules already changed. You were taught that wealth is a finish line, a number, a milestone. But in 2026, that model is outdated. Wealth is a ranking system, and rankings are relative. You can earn more and still feel behind because everyone else is earning more too. You can save more and still feel stressed because the cost of entry keeps rising. You can work harder and still feel stuck because effort alone doesn't change your position. This isn't your failure. This is the system. And once you see the system clearly, you can stop blaming yourself for feeling the way you do. You're not lazy, you're not ungrateful, you're not broken. You're just standing in the middle of a ladder, looking up and down at the same time. And that's exactly where the system wants you. Because if you're constantly chasing, you're constantly producing. You're working harder, spending more, staying engaged. The system doesn't reward you for reaching enough. It rewards you for wanting more. So here's the reframe. In 2026, rich doesn't mean more, it means higher. It's not about hitting a number, it's about moving up the distribution. And that requires a different strategy. Not just working harder, but working smarter. Not just earning more, but building leverage. Not just saving money, but positioning yourself in a way that compounds. The real question isn't, how much money do I need? The real question is, where do I want to stand, and what am I willing to trade to get there? Because once you stop chasing the wrong target, you can start playing the actual game. You can stop measuring yourself against an impossible standard. You can stop feeling guilty for not being satisfied with good enough. You can start making decisions based on position, not just income. And most importantly, you can stop thinking something is wrong with you. Because nothing is wrong with you. You just finally understand how the game actually works. And that's where everything changes.